Welcome back to the coaching session number 2 from the Glory City Church Ministry of Intercession. Today's objective, what we focused on during this coaching session, was one of the greatest needs of the church is to gain a better understanding of persevering in prayer. Everything I've read and studied and from personal experience, I agree with the fact that one of the most common struggles for God's people is actually making time for and making prayer a priority. What we as believers need to settle in our lives once and for all is the truth that the call of God for our time is more important than any other aspect of our day. And I want to use two analogies or examples of what happens when you prioritize the one thing that will put you over the top and help you to be successful in your calling. And so let me first say that every believer is called to prayer, called to spend time in the presence of God, just as Adam and Eve walked with God in the cool of the garden. That was the highlight of their day. It very well may have been the very first thing they did before they attended to anything else in the garden. So let me just use the following examples. If you take a look and examine the life of a professional athlete, and I use the word professional, and let's take football, for example. When you consider the hundreds and thousands of athletes that play at the college level, such a small percentage of them actually make it to the NFL. And of those that are actually drafted to play in the NFL, very few actually make it to the team, and even fewer actually make it past the third year. But the point I want to make is this: in order for them to have gotten to that level, beginning in college, maybe even sooner, the care that they gave to their bodies, as far as their athleticism, their strength, their speed, their understanding of the game, it came first. And usually at the sacrifice of other things. And, for many college athletes, not all, but for many, their scholastic studies came in second. Whatever time they had left over after they addressed the need that they had to spend time with learning football and mastering the skill at their position, whatever time was left over, that's what they gave to school. But the reason they excelled, the reason they were able to reach that level that they did, is becoming the very best at that was their priority. So in order for us to be as effective as we're supposed to be, as God intended us to be in the realm of the Spirit, in order for us to be a people of faith, a people that are led by the Spirit of God, we must prioritize the things that are important. And one of the most important things we can do is to spend time in prayer, spend time in fellowship with God. So if we as believers would prioritize our call to pray, we as well would excel in life, just as professional athletes excel, just as lawyers or doctors do. They place a priority on studying and learning their craft in order to be the professionals that other people want to hire. So many believe that to be effective in prayer, a large amount of time is required, and therefore would cause them to neglect what they would see and consider as vital responsibilities. So they need the revelation that if God is waiting to meet us, now think about that. If God is actually waiting to meet us in order to give us blessings and power from heaven to enable us to do his work, these same believers would see how short-sighted a policy it is to put other work in the place which God and waiting on Him should have in their lives. Believers need to be reminded that there is a Christian life where there is just enough prayer in their lives to keep them from backsliding, for maintaining their current position in Christ, and yet never experience the spiritual growth that God has made available to them. You know, they do just enough to get by. And it's unfortunate because God is giving all that He has, all of Himself to us. And yet we're just basically putting our big toe in the water. We're not willing to dive into the deep end of what God has for us. This kind of prayer attitude is defensive in nature. It's simply an attempt to ward off temptation when actually it should be aggressive, reaching out to take hold of more and more of what God is making available, what God has promised us. For all of us in our role as intercessors, if we want to grow in strength and experience a greater degree of God's power to sanctify ourselves and to bring down the blessings of God on others, we have to be committed to a more definite and persevering prayer life. Now, there is a universal law of God that is active on earth just as it is in heaven, and it's simply this: we get in proportion to our giving. We get in proportion to our giving. The more time you give to something, the more you get out of that thing. So, unless we're willing to pay the price and sacrifice time, attention, and what appears to be legitimate or necessary duties in our lives for the sake of the heavenly gifts, we shouldn't expect any significant experience of the power of God in our lives. We all need to believe that God's call to pray continually doesn't have to be a burden and cause continual self-condemnation. He meant for prayer to be a source of joy and contentment. God can make our prayer life an inspiration, giving us the strength that we need for all the work that we've been called to do in the earth realm, and for bringing down His power to work through us. And in closing, I just want to leave you with one verse, 2 Corinthians 9:8. All right, hopefully you'll tune in for our next session that I'll be posting shortly. Thank you.